Okay, it worked. Anyone want to see the meetings that we just approved? Okay.
Move along. Nothing to see here.
Since you were talking about it, and since it's the first item on the agenda, why don't the group of you who have been involved give us an update on what's going on with the library situation?
Not a whole lot. Library Foundation, Roger had applied for the EBSCO grant for solar for $100,000. Hopes to hear June, July. There's no guarantee when they're going to hear. At the last meeting, 2 meetings ago, we had recommended that they put out to bid for mechanical contractors because the architects were initially going to go with a building mechanical contractor that had already done the building when they built it, but that was like 20 years ago. And so we had requested they go out to bid, and they got 3 proposals, and one of them was significantly better and less expensive than the other 2. So to make good savings there. They were discussing kind of ideas around like some prematurely, not prematurely, but early on, like colors and themes and things like that no decisions were made on.
For paint?
Carpet and flooring, and just kind of getting a feel from the group what kind of styles and colors, so that they can kind of continue formulating ideas around that.
So the bid, the guys with the good bid suggested they only bid propane furnaces, but they did roughly price heat pumps, and they estimated that if we did an all electric heating system, we would be $60,000 over budget.
60,000?
Yeah, but that was based on the current heat load of the building, which should be substantially better, and it didn't take into account that we might be able to have less heating zones.
I see.
So we're not out of the game yet on this. Next, the 6th, there's a meeting that's mostly all mechanicals, and I think if we don't get all heat pumps, we could certainly get a hybrid.
So that's 60,000 over the cost of what it would be for propane boiler.
Well, so that there's a total mechanical budget of $413,000.
Okay.
83 of that is plumbing.
Okay.
So if they did all heat pumps, we'd be 60,000 short on the plumbing budget, basically.
Nice.
But again, that's based on the current heat load of the building and a very casual measurement of some stuff. So I think it's very possible that those numbers could be a lot tighter.
Would there be an IRA credit for those?
Well, yeah, that's the other thing.
So that's like 30%, right?
I would think there would be a 30%. And possibly
I know it applies for solar, but does that 30% apply for municipalities?
Well, it applies for other kinds of heat pumps, whether it applies for commercial heat pumps, I don't know.
Okay, we should look.
Is there savings on, downsize the furnace or footprint?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah, the savings on.
I suspect there will be.
is that
Does this
factored into the 60,000 loss?
Does it also take any of the fuel considerations into account?
Oh, no, it's neither fuel nor solar. So, well, no, it's okay. We're just they've actually put a target that we can work with, right?
Okay.
We have to get rid of $60,000 basically.
Yeah.
And if we improve the building, which will add a lot, and we add solar, and we don't pay for propane, I don't think.
And maybe get a 30%.
And
credit.
maybe get some credit. I don't think 60,000 is possible.
No, I don't either. Yeah, that's,
And do you think Resilient would have some funds for us making that more energy efficient?
Well, they don't have any money,
Grants.
so to speak, but
Grants or-
there's probably some money to improve the building. New Hampshire Saves is the most obvious target we should look at. But do you know
We
any
s-
other things? No, not
We
specifically.
read the other day, New Hampshire Saves doesn't have much money.
Well, so they get,
I just took $250 out of them, so that probably.
That's right.
yeah, it's refunded every July.
Oh,
Oh, okay.
The solar fund, the New Hampshire Saves Fund, all that stuff is one big dump of money. So
okay.
Cindy.
they don't tell you what it is until.
Katrine was looking into something briefly on the New Hampshire saves and then it sort of became superfluous. Do you recall what that was?
Yes, when we weren't sure whether or not there was going to be a real energy audit, and then we got the energy charrette that was a little not quite the level of investigation we were looking for. One of the concerns was, well, how on earth can we pay for an energy audit? And she said New Hampshire Safe should be able to do it for like $300. And she was connecting us with them, but then we decided to not do that because they wanted to improve the insulation and do some other things prior to doing the blower door test and the infrared camera. So I believe the plan is to do that, but not, instead of doing it urgently right now, they're gonna wait to tighten up the envelope first,
Yeah,
right?
That's all right.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, so it's, the rest of it is still open.
This mechanical group that we work with, they have their own internal engineering, which was an advantage over one or two of the others. And it's just seemed really amenable to kind of like working with the group to find what's going to be the best solution. Another thing tied to this too, for most of you probably heard this, but the rec center where the library is vacating, they did get the grant.
So
For
I
$1
think
million.
this is what.
yeah.
The governor's office put in an extra several $1 million into the community action
Oh.
grant program. And so an additional 3 to 5
Well,
groups
hallelujah.
were awarded, communities.
Yeah.
And Barrington had been, I think, next.
7 out of like
Yeah.
6th place was the cutoff, and they were 7th, I think.
Yeah, so they got the $1 million.
That's amazing.
Foster
No
care
kidding,
story.
so that's all for the rec center.
Plus the 300,000 from the library budget.
Is there still something being voted on tomorrow? Or is it?
There's-
Official yet, or is it?
It's as official as Foster's carried a story on it.
Yeah.
This formality of the signing, but it's considered a done deal.
So is there a committee working on how to allocate that, what work to do?
We had a preliminary construction meeting yesterday.
Any chance at all they could, I realize the answer to my question is obvious, but scrap the building and build new, build from a major reconstruction and
Not
as
for $1
opposed to.
million.
No.
Start with that now. Just I swallow hard. Well, so should one of us be going to those building meetings?
Sorry, what did you say?
Should one of us be going to those building meetings?
I was just gonna bring that up.
So yes, the answer is yeah.
So Jim is there, I gather, but
I'm there.
you're not an official member of this crew, but you certainly can represent it.
Yeah,
Well, so I don't,
But I would like to have an official
it was,
member there.
it was a preliminary meeting. We talked
I'll-
about various
I'll-
parts of the building, and we talked about the
I can remember.
audit. You know, those things.
Okay, so until that gets established, keep us posted. When it does get established, Cindy will attend.
Yeah.
might need a reminder.
I think it's gonna move rather quickly.
It has to move quickly, actually. There's a
Yeah, you
deadline.
can fill that in.
Which we're using the funds?
Yeah, to have the construction completed,
Uh-huh.
the renovations completed, and it's before the library is vacating.
Oh,
Library too, so
Okay,
they're trying to sort out all of that.
It's a pot of money now.
I wasn't gonna say that, but go right ahead.
Isn't it?
Yes, it is.
is that the 300,000
Yeah.
or the million?
The 300,000 is the upstairs.
1,450,000.
Yeah, but it's gonna impact the whole building, so.
Oh, yeah,
What
yeah,
does
yeah.
it have to use by? And what's the cutoff date?
August 25.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what the library completion date, right, proposed?
No, the library completion date is, well, it's 2025 and it's very tentatively October, right?
Yeah. They won't be moved out by the. But
Oh, I
it's
see.
just logistics, they'll figure it out.
Right, okay, well,
But exciting news.
yeah, that's good.
I can't believe that happened.
And maybe it's scrambling, but that was a lot of news. Anything else on that?
you might want to look at that. This is the latest update from Resilient Building.
Oh, their estimates?
Yeah. Why don't you go over that? That's your bailiwick.
Okay. I'll look at it. Great. Done with the library updates. Townhouse hall solar installation. The contracts have been approved and signed. That's all set. Invoicing is set. You saw no, you probably didn't see. Ted is going to invoice Connor directly. I didn't want it to go through me. See any reason.
Yeah.
I just wasn't sure. I'm not sure how things have ended up going through.
Yeah, no, I set up names to invoice the town directly today.
Okay.
Building permit's been applied for. Materials are on order.
Good. And is the site survey set for tomorrow?
That's what I heard this morning, but
You're not sure.
I didn't hear any confirmation of that.
Okay. Well, call me if you do hear something. If I can't make it, I can't make it. But give me a try. So there was the possibility that this would be eligible for one of the EGCBG grants. And Matt, I know you've been looking into those. I'm not sure in what context, to be honest.
The ECPG grants, I can't believe I actually said that. I'm told I was, sort of feeling through the grass. And a lot of the stuff that we're looking to do in the community in terms of the winterization projects, they coach it. They don't say winterization. They say fossil fuel reduction, carbon reduction, more environmentally common words than winterization, which is perhaps a bit dated. Though, to apply for those grants, there's two separate paths for them. I won't bore you with huge more detail, except that one path is for the bigger towns like Rochester, Portsmouth, Concord, Derry, people with above, I think it's 30,000 residents. The other path is towards us, and that's for everybody who's a bit in the first category. The path for that is mind-numbing in terms of the number of pages you have to read, and it is full of these acronyms like ECBG type stuff. And honestly, I read the thing. There's literally several hundred pages of material there, and I listened to a couple of podcasts where they discussed that, and I wasn't any more clear at the end of it than I was at the beginning. So is it doable? Yes, but we had to do all that by October 31st.
Okay, what I'm confused about, so this was a grant that we had looked at when this committee was first formed. And the deadlines were a month off, and it was clear that it was an extremely complex application process. And there were seminars that were ongoing. So this was for 2023. And we said, well, we're going to punt that till at least next year. And we probably need help from Stratford Regional Planning to write the grant.
I did have a lengthy conversation with Jen from Regional Planning, and it's kind of funny. If you just let people talk, sometimes they back around and agreeing with you. She started out saying she didn't have the staff, and this is going to be complex, and these things always take a lot of time. And she backed around and finally said, after continuing the call, she said, well, maybe we can help you with this. So the best thing I did was shut up. It worked pretty well. But nonetheless, she did give me the link that I spent a lot of time, nosing around. And we would certainly need the help. And
well, let me go on, because what confuses me is the only information that I found about EECBG for 2024 is that it's going to be state administered. It hasn't been completed yet, but that it seems to be limited to municipal solar. And I'm very confused about it.
Well, no, what I read, it is open to other, it does include those, and I give you that. But there are also, smaller grants given for municipalities that want to engage in weatherization. Some of they focus on the transportation within the municipality. but we can build other things into that. In addition, for example, we could have modernization projects for our town sheds and the workshops and all that, but simultaneous to that, we can maybe build in the food pantry and other town type buildings as part of that grant. So that they're pretty encompassing about what they can do. They say it can be by municipality, by county, and by district. I'm not sure what we have in the way of the district, probably just the county. And I brought today just a little pass around, just to give you a sense of what these dates are. I just printed out, this is one, basically one page of an application to get help. So they clearly understand that this is a complicated process, as you alluded to. So I haven't signed up for anything. They want you to register and get a particular registered number. I don't have the authority to speak for the town for that, so, you know, I obviously did not, I did go far enough into it just to see what was required. And there's several registration numbers you need to apply, to use to apply. So you have to get the registration number, use that number in all the application forms going forward. So,
Sam.
yeah, Sam, number, exactly right.
Were there income limits? Because the solar grant that Paul and I have been talking to Katrina about, seems like it's targeted at low income. Yeah.
It is. So I spoke to Katrina today to get her opinion on pursuing this. And this was specifically in regard to the array for the town hall.
Okay.
And there were a number of criteria that she said she wouldn't recommend that. One is it's targeting projects that would not otherwise be funded, and we clearly are funded. We're funded through, they're funding with the ARPA money. And we clearly intended to move ahead with it. Yes. The other part was the low income, which, you know, we're not going to follow this project. So, she also said that it's not, the other question was whether or not we could start construction and still apply. And she said, because the terms haven't been written yet, the state is still trying to figure that out. It's not clear, but if we were to go ahead with it, that's yet more indication that the project was going to go ahead anyway. So basically what I wanted to do was hold a vote from the group, and this is more or less on when we should start the installation of the array on the town hall. And I wanted the group to go around the group, get a vote. We'll need a motion on whether we should not pursue the EECG funding for the town hall solar array and move forward.
Does showing the town's interest and commitment and investing in the town hall solar array, could that be leveraged to apply those funds to a different building in town that we don't have funding for? Almost like,
I think it would be a separate process.
right, but if rather than apply for the town hall, you can illustrate that we're
Oh,
doing
yes, you can, we could apply it to a different project anytime.
But I think the low income levels are. Gonna be-
Yeah, okay, yeah. But it would seem rather than applying for the town hall,
Right,
apply for a different building.
right, yeah, no, there's nothing to keep us from doing that. Whether it will, I mean, it sounds like you'll probably dig in on this to see if it can go anywhere with the weatherization stuff.
I will, but I would not, I would be remiss if I didn't have some reality to it.
Yeah.
This would be a long-term project if it happens at all.
Right, and she said there's very few of these that are awarded. They're very hard to get. They're usually pretty big. Now, maybe for the smaller grants that we were talking about, they might be easier to get. I don't know. But, you know, I'll leave it to you to decide how to pursue that, you know, in the context of the weatherization stuff. But,
Well, sorry to interrupt, but in regards to the weatherization stuff, Matt, you and I had talked about the possibility of, instead of applying for these grants, doing some local fundraising. And I think we said that, you were gonna talk to Bob Arnold and just get like an average cost, because if the average budget for weatherizing one of these rocks is like, I don't know, $2,000, and we want to do 5 more this year than we did last year, that's $10,000. That seems like a I'd much rather spend my time fundraising that money than filling out that grant application.
Oh, I would absolutely agree. And I did not do that. I didn't realize I was tasked with that, but that's okay.
It's very possible that it was me and I forgot. I just remember we talked about it
Yeah,
briefly, yeah.
we did.
Yeah.
Indeed. And I do think that the goal is to have 10 to 15 houses that we winterize and incrementally make changes in that regard. I think that's the path to go, because we will invest an enormous amount of time, which,
For grants that small. it's probably
and,
And we are unlikely to get it because we're probably not gonna qualify on the low income and it just looks sort of behemoth.
behemoth is a good word for that. Yeah, I mean, I hate to be negative about that, you know, I mean.
We just need a different path, you know?
And to have a warrant article, you know, with 10 or 20K, you know, that considering the size of the town budget, 20K is.
Potentially, or even just private fundraising, I think,
It's
you know, help keep your neighbors warm. Appeal to neighborly compassion, I think.
Yeah. I would contribute to that.
10,000, we need some data, but I think it's, you know, potentially doable.
For the town, not town clerk, but the town HR who administers the welfare program, she'd be a great resource because she knows, you know, she hands out the checks for electrical, you know, subsidies.
And I think that shows sort of inclusivity too, as opposed to like, I mean, sometimes I think people think about solar energy, these increases, they think elitist stuff, and this is insulating somebody's house that's really cool.
Yep.
Okay. I was gonna get to the weatherization stuff. later.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't
don't-
jump the
don't
line
know.
here.
That's okay. If there's more, we'll pick it up afterward. But let's continue with the other thing to realize is that I spoke to Katrina. I told her that, by the way, the proposal for the membership of Clean Energy New Hampshire is going to be at your next meeting. So that kind of is going to forward that on. I'm assuming that should go through without any problems. And she was very happy to hear that. And she will be glad to consult with us on available funding for all these projects. So that's good.
Katrina and I have maintained a dialogue going around this. So Exeter, it appears, is not as far down the road as we had been told. So this mythical presentation that we've been looking at is just that myth. So they're trying to do exactly what we're doing. So it's some validation of the fact that others are doing it.
Yeah. But anyway.
Okay, well, keep at it. But I would like that motion that we move ahead to approve the installation start of the solar array here on the town hall and forgo the pursuing the CBG grant. Someone make a motion to that.
I'll that we forgo the EECBG grant application. Grant application and
Probably not having enough wine.
start installation on the town hall solar.
Second. Go around the room.
Yes.
Who's voting today? I think you're out there. So
And I probably shouldn't vote either, so.
are you out? You're allowed to vote on it.
Okay.
Oh, yes.
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 Yes, unanimous. Thank you. Okay. I will talk to Connor. We can talk to Ted.
I think we're ahead of you.
So we're starting
A
anyway.
little bit. Who was gonna say no?
It may surprise you. Okay, I think, was there anything else with the town hall solar that we should discuss?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Actually, I would posit one question, and that is, how are we going to publicize this? We're doing good work here. And it has been repeatedly emphasized is that most of the people in town don't know what goes on. And how do we publicize it? It's a good thing. We're doing it.
get into not going on with the community power. One thing that we could do is we could propose that the middle school do something. They must have some kind of a technical program of some sort there. I know it's a middle school. We could propose that they come here and observe and
Flip the
learn
switch.
what's going on.
Yeah, and flip the
Get
switch.
some education, and maybe Ted would be willing to do something like that.
Yep.
For the schools program. I'll talk to him about it. I don't know what we can do beyond that.
Can we get a celebrity? And
Can we?
get a celebrity? I mean, it is 2,400 people running the office right now.
Definitely not.
When the construction's happening, builders are installing, so if you have someone getting some good photos.
Yeah.
That we can share on social media, the town Facebook accounts and things.
Does,
Some of the installation.
yeah,
happens.
yeah, right. Who would do that for the town? Would it?
Connor,
Oh,
yeah, Tiffany.
okay, great.
It's a big picture of Connor in that Foster's article. The grant one.
Yeah, rec center.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Um,
Is there celebrities?
I'll get some pictures from
okay, I'm just wondering if we should try and get some other publicity from Foster's and some of this other stuff.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
You know, it increases the skits for the next project.
Right, right. So
Does-
want
Is Doug the official press release, right?
sort of.
Yeah, One for one.
You should check for better your odds.
I think they probably would like this kind
Yeah.
of thing,
Right.
especially if it's, I mean, are we talking to completion or
Well,
groundbreaking? I mean, it's.
I would do the groundbreaking because you want to get it, or it's not going to take long to get that up.
You know, it just seems like when you have the finished product, it's a little easier.
To show it.
Let's get a couple pictures of each. Give them halfway.
And they can do it if you want to.
Yeah.
The school year, we can't really, it's not gonna be, school's not gonna be on while this is going on, so. That's gonna be, they can't participate in that, so it's not a big rush.
And we are going forward, get sort of real time, like, this is how much money's been saved, this is our break even point, et cetera.
That's good.
We'll be tracking that.
Yeah,
But I'm thinking, well, I will bring this up when I meet with the SAU folks. Again.
Well, yeah, there'll be a data feed from that logger, so it could be sent to the schools, it could be.
Yeah, at the very least, they can learn what it is.
Yes.
You know, be one, a day in their curriculum.
And Rick Walker's on the school board now.
Yeah.
He was interested in solar for the safety building.
Yeah, that's all on hold.
I know, but. you know,
But he would
Yeah, but you're
probably
right.
support it for this any activity in the school, right? Okay, I will talk to them about that. Okay, so what I was talking about, community power. We had the informational session, a bunch of people here and there. Unfortunately, we did not get a much bigger response from the public than we had for the prior public session, so I
Hey,
didn't.
it was a 300% increase. Doubled the odds, you know?
that's why you were in a press release.
You got it. Accentuate the positive.
It's probably because they weren't expecting getting a ton lashing that she gave them. this time.
So one of the interesting things is there was one guy that stood up and clearly, just wanted to complain. And when I saw him, and the first thing he was complaining about how there had been no notification about any of this. They just got this letter and he was just as likely to throw the letter away. And I knew I had seen that guy somewhere. And I explained to him that we had spent time at the transfer station. We had hundreds of leaflets that we had been turned down in a warrant article last year that could have funded a mailing about this. But I realized he was one of the guys that drove by me at the transfer station and sort of gave me this dirty look. He was a big guy.
Liar on top of everything else.
So I wish I was thinking that I've seen this guy before. And I wish I could have called him on that at the time, but I had realized when I got home who he was. I didn't catch his name. I don't think he said his name, but that was interesting. And he was the only one that stood up and really said anything about that.
How did he respond when you corrected him on,
He said,
obvious error?
He just wanted to.
yeah, they don't change their minds, really.
Yeah.
It's, but I thought that overall for the few people that were there, it went pretty well. One interesting point was Doug Langdon was there. He is the consultant for the schools in town on power purchase agreements. And he asked some good questions, and you know he was perfectly fine, and he was also clearly quite knowledgeable. So it's possible that it's something. There just hadn't been enough time. We had talked about bringing him in earlier to have him speak to the group, and the appropriate time really would have been before we had approved as a community power coalition. I don't think he would have changed my mind. I don't know if he would have changed anyone else's mind. But it may well be worth just having him come in and talk to us about what he does and his perceptions of some of this, because,
That would be, I think that would be useful.
you know,
We should, no, not at all, but knowing the other side, the other point of view, no matter how long it takes.
no, that would be fine. I mean, knowledge is a good thing. So we will pursue that in the future since we have so little to do, and see what happens. But he seemed, I didn't have any problem with what he presented and what he said.
No, he knows the energy markets really well.
Yeah. And he may be able to inform us about some of the things going on in the coalition that we don't understand.
And we've talked about working together with the school, to get a, agreement together, both of us through Doug.
Yeah. So there's some other interesting things along those lines. There was also the annual members meeting of the coalition took place. I was there. Dan was in virtually, I think for the whole thing, weren't you?
The first hour and a half. But
It wasn't
go.
scintillating. Did you think?
I think the history from Below was
Yes,
interesting.
that was, so
Um,
he gave us sort of a wrap up of his whole time and experience, and he's been in this a long time. How did
Yeah.
he start out?
Through Dartmouth, started. I don't remember exactly, but he was in the legislature early on.
Yeah, I believe he co-wrote the original legislation that allowed for.
He did, but he had already, prior to that, he had been involved in a lot of things for a very significant period of time, and that was the mid to late 90s. He'd been in this since the 80s.
Yeah.
And he's been around a long time. He's done a lot. He's a good person to have on board. That was interesting. There wasn't much that was discussed about policy or any of the actions before the DOE or the Public Utilities Commission. I was hoping we might get some updates on some of that, but I think this stuff moves very slowly. So the stuff, it's been filed. In regards to what you were talking about, Jen, with Doug Langdon, one of the things that did come out is that so right now, you know about the coalition's monthly rates for residential. And those are fixed for 6 months and they get reevaluated. They also have a commercial rate, a general commercial rate, the Eversource G rate, which changes on a monthly basis. And that was in the letter that went. If you take a look at the letter,
I'm sorry.
it's a table. Is it not? Yeah, okay. Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah.
Table with GB.
Oh, yes, that is it. I thought it was more on the thing. So you can see that those rates are also competitive. That is a commercial rate that businesses can opt to go with. I believe they will be opted in if they don't opt out. So if they're on that G rate, which there are not many businesses that are. The coalition is, one of the things that there's been a lot of interest in is having a fixed rate for a longer period of time that would appeal to larger businesses. And they are working. So they are expecting to come out with a yearly rate, yearly contracted rate. This could be something that the school would be interested in. It could be something that TurboCam would be interested in. I asked Henry if I should approach TurboCam about this. And because my understanding is that the guy who's the CEO, president of TurboCam is supposed to be very friendly. And he's been pretty good in supporting the community, which we've seen through the Conservation Commission to some extent. So Henry said, not quite yet. They've got a little more work to do before they're ready to announce this rate. But when they are, that would be something that I mean, they are a big energy user.
Oh, yeah, I would think.
Does TurboCam go with this rate with Eversource, or do they contract somehow?
They have a power purchase agreement there with a third-party provider. Right? We're not supposed to know that technically, but when we got the figures from Eversource that were broken down by category, there was only one industry that was in the highest rate category, and it's very clearly TurboCam.
And they've got solar too, right?
They do have solar, which would speak, but on one facility. Facility. So it depends on how they're metered. But yeah, this is something, it would be good to get into a conversation with them.
And they're in the process of a fourth building too,
Right. Right.
Where's that?
125.
It's the one, oh, you're not in the conservation.
It's just to the right of this south.
The
of the
headquarters.
others.
Do we have any local data on how many people have opted in or opted out?
Yeah.
I don't think that will be available until near the end of May, but yes, that will be public information. I will pull out the spreadsheet that's published. They've just changed to Microsoft SharePoint, and I have to find all this stuff again. But they do have monthly summaries of from Calpine, I believe. And it has all of that information, opt in, opt out, opt up, down. It's not all completely easy to filter out. For example, I just opted up. And I might also be counted as an opt-in. But so people who would normally be automatically enrolled, but go in and opt in as well, they're counted as opt-in instead of automatically. So there's
So what is an opt-out? Forgive my ignorance.
to a higher level of the,
Oh, all right.
Since you're off grid.
I have a charging
Most.
kiosk, but I don't have an electric vehicle. It's running my modem.
Okay.
Yeah, I pay about 50 cents a month in energy charges and about $16 a month in line fees.
Yeah.
That's okay.
One comment about that whole process, opting out. I called them because you remember I have a
Oh,
solar
cool.
array.
What was your experience?
I was not really enthused with the notion that they really got what I was trying to do. They said, oh, no, you automatically. I said, well, I'm told I should call and verify. So that's what I'm doing now is calling to verify that. And they said, oh, well, no, you already verified. I said, but it was so offhanded, so it
They
wasn't, they
didn't check it.
didn't check anything. It's like somehow they remember, you know.
That's how you made an impression.
You shouldn't be up to date.
But
No.
they should check the list and make sure his name isn't there.
Yeah.
Right, but that little brochure that went around that said you should call and check, and so I did. I did what I was told, and I wasn't inspired by a huge amount of confidence that they actually knew my name, saw my name on the list. Oh yeah, you're out of there.
I guess you'll find out when you get your first bill. Right?
You have to make sure you check that, but
Yeah.
I know, I tried to look at my contract for my third party, so you have to cancel that to join in. I know they asked me if that was right this month better. But I go log in, there's just nothing in the account. They're all so sketchy. All the
Yeah.
third parties that I have.
Oh, yeah, they are.
Worked
Yeah.
with like 3 or 4 of them over the years. They're all terrible. I'm like, once I get out of them, I'll be very happy, but I can't even figure out like how to cancel or to make sure there's no fee to cancel.
and there's no one you can talk to.
I just haven't called yet because I know it's gonna be a conversation 10 times worse than what you had. And I figured I'm not like in a huge rush to do it. So I'll get to it, but yeah, so I log in and like there's just look at your account info and there's nothing there. Nothing there.
Great.
Well, maybe they don't have your billing address either.
They don't do the billing, it's just,
Oh,
you know, everything is Eversource, but there's the supplier listing.
Tiffany did forward, they had gotten a query from someone who kind of seemed to know about, I don't remember exactly what his wording was, but it turned out he had a third party provider. And she gave him my name and I called him up. And you know, he explained what his situation was and said, you need to call them and see what your cancellation terms are. And I said, do you know what rate you're paying? He said, he didn't. And I asked him if he had a billing. He figured it out. So he dug one up. He was paying 17 point something cents a kilowatt. And I told him, I said, you are really paying a lot. He said, yeah, I just realized that.
Well, a year ago, it was lower.
Yeah.
I know, and he's had this for a
But if you
number
had a
of
2-year
years.
contract.
Multiple times without having paid any attention at all, and it just.
Oh, is that what? Is that what?
Yeah, they don't do this, they just.
Oh, okay. So he was happy. I told him if he had any problems or questions, he could either call the number or call me.
By the way,
My number.
remember looking at my bill and I had Direct Energy as my supplier?
Yeah.
I pointed that out to them. And they said, no, that's your supplier. I said, no, I'm told that Eversource is, you know, because I'm net metered. And they said, oh, no, we can do that. And it's Direct Energy is your supplier. So I'm
Direct energy is what I have that I can't figure out my account info.
There's a lot of these anomalies going on, and I don't get it. I don't,
yeah, I mean, I think they would have it down.
no. Only proof that that's not happening.
Well, I mean, the question for you is, are you getting credit for what you're putting out on the grid or not?
That's it. And I see in the bill, I see power that I've had to purchase because I didn't generate enough, and power that are sold, you know, that I did generate. So I see that in my bill. It's
You do.
clear. Yeah,
Yeah, if you have sales on your bill, that's credit.
yeah, yeah.
Don't understand it, but good.
Well,
Okay, so that was pretty much everything that I had to say about community power. And the good news is that it's done. We have nothing more to do. I mean, other than, you know, will pay attention to what's going on there and will be attending the meetings. I'm going to try to figure out more about how their hedging works and how they actually decide on the price that the rates that they're going to offer, just because I want to know more about that. And I talked to Brian Kalman and I talked to Henry about it. And they said, yeah, it should be more understandable than it was at the meeting that I attended. So we'll see what happens there. But we are done. It is finished. We're in. Glad to be.
Like that, this, I joined in when it was mostly done, so good job, everyone.
You have the dump duties.
Yeah, I did do that, that's right.
Okay, so Leah did a lot of work, between, before we got to the point where we were done trying to make the public aware. And Leah, why don't you show us what is on the website that we should know about, and maybe there's some things that should be changed at this point.
Yeah, I don't think I changed anything on the homepage, or I think it made some of it like past tense. You scroll
Okay.
down, under for the community power one.
Um,
Hi.
what's it?
I thought I had changed that community power section to be like
Past tense.
past tense, but I think I had updated it after.
Well, we should update it though now to say that the process is complete,
Yeah.
that enrollment will begin in June of this month. Will actually be completed by the end of June of this month. And people have received letters outlining the steps that they need to take. And you should say that there was a public information session that was held, just so people, if people are annoyed, they realize that they were informed.
So yeah, that rings a bell, but I should update. I had updated it once, but not a second time.
Okay.
So then under the news,
Here. This was, wasn't it?
yeah, so that's the latest one. And as you can see, after there's 5 articles there. Once you get over 5, you then click view all to have all. So I don't have to do anything.
Was this public notice that came in the mail, a PDF also? Did you get also?
It is.
So
It's on
it should be
the,
on here.
it's this.
Same one.
It's
Okay.
pretty much the same. There's some spacing and things like that, because that's personalized to you. But yeah, it's the same information.
I think I have that in a couple spots.
Yeah.
What's in the news article?
Oh,
That Paul wrote.
this is the website, right? Yeah. This is picture is compliments of Doug.
Oh, that's beautiful.
See how in glass river.
So this was, I used this to opt up. Has anyone else had any experience with it?
Planning to, but.
So one thing that I found to be a little bit unclear is when you go and select a utility and put in your account number, this becomes a scrollable field. It's not obvious that it's a scrollable field, and there's stuff that you need to get to that's out of view.
So you got
Oh, God.
the arrow.
Wait, so you opted up for your 26 cents of power?
I did.
Thanks for saving the blessing.
Glad you're doing your part.
60 cents worth of power. But so, and I should probably tell Henry about that too. I don't.
Can you do it right now? I'm not sure what you mean by that.
So, let's see. So, well, here it doesn't matter. Account number. So for that, for example, you can all read my message from Al. So if you didn't know that there was something down there, you sit here and you go, okay, what do I do now? And then when you realize that you need to scroll down, you hit the next. That is bad interface design.
But not that uncommon.
No, it's not. And the same thing is through here, but it seemed to be aligned a little better. And by then you realize, oh shit, I need to scroll.
It got past your bogus account number. Speaking about bad interface design, shouldn't it have said that's not a number?
It did once.
Yeah, but you just added a number.
Yeah, the numbers at the end of it.
Yeah, that worked. I didn't have enough digits to be. Yeah, I'm not gonna call them on that. That would be weird if someone could enroll though or opt up under a bogus account. I'll try that later. I'm not gonna try that.
A practice game.
So that is the website. To this.
Yeah, so sorry, there actually is not the PDF linked on this article.
Okay,
I don't think it needs to be.
No.
There is a website.
it's fine where it is.
And then additions to the Barrington Community Power page with the new website and PDF up top. I can probably get rid of the meeting, the May 8th meeting
Oh,
now.
where is that? Oh, here, yes.
Here.
Yeah. that. If you want to say somewhere else, like we said before, that there was a public information session held to learn to address any questions. The public might have. And I think we should leave all the rest of it up because people may want to look at the aggregation plan. They may want to look at some of the previous presentations or the information articles. What I actually suspect is going to happen, so what the guy who was complaining brought up is, what if people just threw this away and they never knew that they had gotten the mailing? Well, then their rate would go down by a little bit and they'd probably never notice anything. I didn't say that. No.
He probably would have called you a communist.
So I think I'll probably get rid of that chart now instead of having to
The rates?
update it. Because people can just go to the website, and see the rates. Instead of having to keep up on this every 6 months.
So this was actually an issue that came up, and there was a request from, I think Connor actually asked Henry. So the coalition makes, the rates are available to anyone, but they don't push them out to anyone. And what Connor asked was if they could generate a push list so that any of the customers would be notified in advance of what the rate change is going to be. And I think that would be an excellent idea. If they don't, in the absence of them doing something like that, we will probably want to make a point of prominently displaying the rates when they, especially when they've changed. Anything else we should look at? Yeah.
I think that's it.
Okay. Good. Thank you. Matt, Cindy, did you have anything else you needed to go into?
I still, the fuel assistance links,
Oh, right.
I'm supposed to add, maybe I just dropped the ball on it.
With the Stratford,
You got my email, right? With the links you could access.
is that with the Stratford Community Action Program? The fuel assistance? and the-
Yeah, it's what you had brought up a few meetings ago.
So it was the links that are in here, so I can show you. Does this look familiar to you? Well, so there's a simple, there's a thing, blurb from, this is the federal site, and they localize it down to the state and county level for a little questionnaire that you go through to see if you qualify. Then, I think this was the one I said you already have this one. So, yeah, this is the link that you've got already there. Then this was something about this. Information. Oh, this tells about more of the programs I actually ended up substituting in I think the page that was further down. But it just can make people aware that there's more than just fuel assistance. Yeah, there is the organization, food, all of these other things. So I thought that would be good. I can resend you that anyway.
Yeah, I couldn't find it right now. I don't know how to do that. I don't know. Kind of on this topic, I wanted to share a newsletter from the school that the Community Action Partnership with Stratford County has a summer meals program. I guess it's the first time they've offered that. So we qualify as a rural site to receive free assistance for the summer. There'll be one day of the week at the middle school. Just go to, just say how many kids you have under 18, and they get you weeks worth of food.
Wow, did you say this is people are being made aware of this through the school system?
This is the district newsletter.
Oh, cool.
From the superintendent.
How do you get it?
I get it. It's an email. It's because I have a kid in the school.
How about food bank? Yeah, how about food bank?
Andrew, do they know about it?
I can forward you guys.
Yeah, please.
Actually, I don't know if you guys can access the newsletter. Maybe. Let's like a link in that.
Transparency.
We can. Only in a few minutes, I'm not going to pursue accessing it if we can't access it. Going around the country.
So are we on weatherization project now?
We are.
Do you want me to give a summary of my call with Bob?
Yeah, please.
So, and I've been trying to get Bob Arnold at Stratford County, exit action,
Community action.
community action program,
Yeah.
to help us host a program for resident-owned communities where we say, hey, these are the weatherization issues with manufactured housing. Here's this program that you can apply for. And we were failing to schedule dates essentially. And so he's
4 to 5 key people all fully agreed to do it.
yeah, and then Bob was hesitating. And so he asked for a phone call. So I said, sure, we'll talk to you on the phone. And he said, the problem is if you sign up all these people, I can't help them because I don't have any more money and you need to get money. And
Which
that's
is contrary to what he said to us not long ago. He said they had plenty of money.
well,
Yeah.
this is what I was told. That you know, they had, and part of it has to do with how the funds are allocated, as I understand it, like various towns around us, like Dover gives, the city of Dover gives his program some dollar amount and they essentially match so that he has more money to work with Dover than because Barrington doesn't give money to this. And he said, if you come up with money, I can really help you, but I can't do 100 houses in Barrington and 10 in Dover because that doesn't reflect the population or the who's contributing. Yeah. So that makes sense to me. I understand. And maybe he just didn't realize during the preliminary conversations what the data all were or whatever. So he was like, basically, you guys need to come up with money. And he sent Matt and I links to these grant things that are, I really haven't looked at, you have, and they're challenging. But I did just send him an email because I figured I might as well do it. I'm right here thinking about it of, hey, what's the average cost of these programs? Because I think if we could possibly have a warrant article and or private fundraising, depending on which is the easier one to get done. Some of this is probably a pretty low cost per unit, that you might be able to do 5 to 10 houses a year, maybe able to privately fund it.
I think what you're pursuing, getting the information on what the costs are and what.
If it's
shares-
$50,000 a unit, I mean, we can't do it,
Right.
but if it's two, then sure.
It's not gonna be 50, I mean, it's
Yeah.
gonna be in thousands. But if we have those numbers, then we can talk about putting together a warrant article. We can, get a sense of the select board, whether they'd be willing to support this in some way for a certain number.
Yeah.
Maybe they would support 5 of these things.
And maybe, I don't know I don't know enough about the details of a warrant article, but maybe we could even have a plan where it's 50% privately fundraised and 50% sponsored by a warrant article,
Well, and if we don't use all the funds, we might be able to sponsor one of these.
Yeah.
And I would emphasize that we have key players involved in the leader of all the resident-owned communities, Shorten the Rock. We have a number of them right here in Barrington, but everywhere in the state.
Yep.
And there's a woman who's enthusiastic beyond measure, participating and helping she's quite willing to help us organize, get groups together.
Is that Jane, the Australian lady?
No, you think of Jane Astley,
Oh, Jane.
Janine.
Janine.
Don't know who's the last name.
No, it's fine.
Yeah.
I just
Anyway.
place her.
But she's all over it, quite all right. So we have her and Jane Astley's involved. Obviously, we are in terms of the community government. So we have a lot of people who are nodding, wanting to do this. We just don't have the funding. So
Yeah, Bob has the contractors and the know-how, but not the
That's
money. And we have people who know the RSU community and can mobilize them, but we need money.
Yeah, the Eversource Neighbor Helping Neighbor kind of program. What if the town of Barrington had, you go pay your car registration or your tax bill. Do you want to donate it $1 to $2 to whatever? Neighbor Helping Neighbor.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's potentially all kinds of creative ideas. I think maybe step one is just getting a number of the average one costs 2,000, 3,000 something. And also, there are this many homes a year that we could be done and this many that we would target. And then once we have that budget, I'm sure there's lots of creative ways to.
What I find a little bit annoying is that Stratford Cat should be helping us figure this out. Whereas
He sent us links to grant applications.
That's not helpful.
He seemed.
there's a giant rabbit hole.
He seemed. It did seem a little bit like, how are you guys figure this out? But I think he was a little too.
Well, but this is their job.
Yeah, they get paid.
I find this to be pretty disturbing. But I'm not sure that we can go anywhere. This doesn't make me happy.
Well, it didn't make us happy. No. And we are all gung ho to go. And we even have places to meet and bring people in. So one of the things I think that occurred to me today as I was passing through some of this is if we did this locally, if we had sort of a list of priorities, meaning if you're over 80 and a vet, you're there. If you're over 75 and school teacher, all these, people that tend to be in historically low income jobs or no money, that we hit those first. And, next to the, geez, I'm writing out a check for my registration. I can support that. I like vets or whatever.
And I mean, I think potentially you could have local businesses engaged as well,
They're not talking big money.
No, I don't think we are. And I think it's quite impactful and it's, helping people in your own community. So I think we just need,
So your canvassing has now changed from going door to door.
Now I'm
to
asking
talk
for
to
money.
these people.
Yeah. I'm really pushing it.
That's okay. I mean, that's okay.
Yeah.
But, you know, as long as you figured out what you might be able to do to move forward. I mean, that's sort of the key.
Yeah, I mean, it's evolving and we're working on it, and I feel like we're making progress. It's just
Yeah,
slow going.
it's
And there's misstarts. But I think that's.
Well, on our way out tonight, we can plan, everybody here, we can walk through this neighborhood that's just behind town hall. It's all-
Yeah. Doesn't look like you're hurting. Hang on.
Thank you, Cindy.
That may not be the right approach.
Anything else? I'll move on to the school district. As I mentioned to you, I met with, Jim Williams and Deanna Ray, before the last meeting. And, there were a few things that I was trying to get from them. Joe Williams was supposed to get me, a Siemens audit that had been done on the school buildings a while ago. That turned into a complete nightmare. We had about 3 weeks of emails back and forth. He kept sending me Google links, but he didn't know how to give me permission to access them. You may remember we went through some of this. And I couldn't explain it to him, and I said, I'll come in and show you. He didn't understand. It was a mess. Then it turned out that the files, I couldn't get to this point. I couldn't get through the permissions, but the files that he was giving me links to were actually encrypted by Siemens. So even had I gotten to them, I wouldn't have been able to decrypt them. And then finally, I said, I can talk to your IT people. I can come in. I can get this done. But he didn't seem to want that. So he finally just printed all the stuff out on paper, and I went and picked it up on Tuesday. I have not, I sent an email out that I posted. I didn't go through it. Did you?
Yeah, it doesn't look like an audit. It looks to me like a.
It was a proposal, yeah. And it was mostly change the light bulbs and fix the walk-in freezers.
There was boiler stuff.
There was a
in there,
lot of
too.
stuff in there.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I skimmed it and it's 10 years old.
it's 10 years old.
I didn't know that boiler doors were heated. That's the thing.
The refrigerator.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's
Who knew?
Yeah.
I didn't realize, I didn't look at the date. It's 10 years old.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's 10 years old.
And they never did anything?
Well, so now, if that's the case, that it's a proposal, now what we need to know is, okay, what's been done on it?
I think they've done the lighting part of it,
Oh, okay.
I believe.
Well, that's good.
I mean, they're suggesting substantial savings from all that stuff.
Yeah, there was a timeline for break even paybacks that was pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a chart with energy usage, which may be useful to get a snapshot of that time and this time.
Yeah.
Sorry, I gotta, this is about breakfast tomorrow.
That's it.
Oh,
Yeah.
Are we invited? Is that what?
Being 8 o'clock, Newmarket. Make yourselves comfortable. So that was my story on this, but I will check with Joe, and I actually have his cell number, so I can actually reach him. I'll find out what has been accomplished out of that proposal, and also, make clear to him that it's old. Technology has changed in 10 years. Prices have changed in 10 years. Funding has changed in 10 years. And we need to consider whether it's time to do another audit.
I think it is. I mean, 10-year-old energy audit is sort of like.
Well, especially if they haven't done most of what was in.
And also, does anybody know what the life expectancy of a walk-in freezer is?
Pretty long.
Is it? Okay.
I mean, they can replace the compressors and things like that.
So 10 years isn't like it's dead.
No.
Okay.
But they are getting, so middle school is 20 years old, I think, this year. Which
Yeah,
kind of shocked me.
2004, yeah.
Yeah. It
So.
feels like it was yesterday
I
that they
know,
held that,
I
yeah.
know, when Deanna told me that, I was just flabbergasted, because it seemed like they had just built the dam. But so it is getting to the point where there are scheduled renewals that need to be taking place. There's roofing considerations, there's all kinds of stuff coming up. And this is what we had talked about when I met. Since then, so the other things that I wanted to do with them, I wanted to introduce them to the concept of electric vehicle fleet leasing for their school bus fleets. And I was trying to put together a meeting with Highland Fleets, a company down in Massachusetts, that basically will do the whole plan for you. And I had sent them a podcast about it, and I had asked them to let me know when they would have time to do a virtual meeting with the company. I'd spoken to them like that. And it was pulling teeth to get an answer.
Yeah.
I never heard back from Deanna. Maybe she's too busy. I finally heard back from Joe on Friday, when I had bugged him again and said, are we going to do this or are we not? And so I do have an email into Highland Fleets asking them to set up an appointment for the times that Joe had available. Haven't heard anything back. So the long and short of it is that the stuff with the SAU is painful, just like you're experiencing. We'll see what happens.
Well, I suspect we're dealing with people who just have an awful lot to do. And, we're their lowest priority.
Right. We are trying to save the money, and I told them that I wanted to talk to Ted about their solar in schools program. Not that I can give Ted false expectations, because obviously if they decided to do something, this would have to go out to bid. There would have to be an RFP process involved. So, but at least we can get the information on what they're doing, what their experience has been, and I can pass that on. And we can engage Katrina in what funding is about. Because we know that there's the 30% at the very least, and probably some other things. The New America Schools program will not do it, as I mentioned. So that's really for larger school systems with lots of buildings.
Although it sounded like we could partner with another town.
You could,
but it sounds awful, but you could in theory.
It's too complicated. And, we're new at this. That's more than I want to. So, I kind of gave.
The
But
thing related to the schools is that they are starting to negotiate contracts for high school. That does include transportation. They contract like this over Durham. Couldn't quite tell from this.
do we handle that transportation, or do the other districts?
We do.
Yeah, I'm not.
We handle our own transportation contract.
Well, I know we do for the Barrington schools.
Yeah.
Do we do it for high schools as well?
Yeah, but if the transport,
Very limited.
it's
right?
extremely
Yeah.
limited.
Bus per school.
Yeah.
Well, that's okay. This would all be part of so as far as the fleet leasing goes, I know that the contract is up as of the end of this school year, so they are in the process of renegotiating. But the thing is, this is getting drawn out long enough that, if you're going to put in an EV fleet, there are facilities that have to go. Those have to be built. You have to install a charging stuff, high power charging station buses. So this is not going to be something that could be ready for next year. What I will propose to them is that they do a short-term contract if they're interested in pursuing something with fleet lease. But first I have to get their year.
They're in the process of building, or not building, but planning an addition to elementary school.
Right. Now we had discussed that and they were interested in including the, possibly a solar system for one or more of the schools in the warrant article for the bond.
Yeah.
For that, they were interested in expanding it. Not clear if that's going to be in next year's warrant articles or not.
So,
I don't think they're ready.
It seems pretty ambitious.
But the 30% Inflation Reduction Act, there's like a 10-year horizon on that, isn't there?
Yeah.
So we have plenty of time to.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
that's not going to expire. That is the good.
And every time they said it was going to expire, it's re-up, so.
We'll see.
Yeah.
It depends on. A lot depends on what's going to happen over the next years with the government in this country.
Yeah.
We'll see. That was everything that I had with the SAU. I hope there would be more. So moving on, I have been working on a draft of the site selection criteria. I need to work on this further with, I need to work with you on it. So that. Oh, okay. So, Jack, this is for you. If you could read that and see if it makes sense to you. Can you see that? Big enough?
Yeah. Yeah, I get the general drift.
Okay. So these are, and I will actually, I don't remember if this is in the version that I sent out to you or not. There's a number of characteristics that I put in here. It was everything I could think of. I would like a read on that. And Rob, I'd like to consult with you on what form this should take in submission to the select board. So this is something I'd like another sense of the committee on about formulating this document, in the intervening time before the next meeting.
is this what we were talking about, like a strategic plan?
Yes. Yeah, this is what I was thinking. And I need you to tell me if, no, this isn't what you wanted. I think it does get the gist across of the considerations that we need to be making. So I would like to continue drafting this with the participation of Jack and Ron. Anyone else who's interested is welcome.
Is conservation tied in with this as far as?
Yeah, I mean, we wanted to let you guys, us guys, take the first whack at it.
Yeah, this is really, this isn't the proposal to the lands committee where we're going to work out this is just what we're thinking of and how we're going about this selection. And then I think what we'll basically do is tell the lands committee, if the select board agrees, here's the kind of thing that we're looking for. Or, the other alternative may be that we're going to say, for now, we only are interested in going in behind the meter solutions. The lands committee, it's not time for them to get involved. That is also a clear possibility. I'm interested in seeing how the numbers work. Because we've made assumptions. I'm not sure that they're correct.
I can give you really accurate numbers. I had a discussion with Connor last week, something about some negotiations that are going on behind Liberty.
Legion. Yeah, true.
Yeah, and there's a corner of that piece of property, which must be the southwest corner, that has potential, and there's a potential company that might go in below that. The biggest problem with behind the meter or ahead of the meter stuff right now is Eversource is charging ungodly amounts of money for those interconnections. But if there was a customer to take a piece of property in that section, the rules change a lot because they're bringing in power for something else.
You can do a joint interconnect.
Potentially. I mean, there could be a big system on this facility that only uses a portion of the energy,
Oh,
and the rest of the energy gets group net metered, and then you didn't pay for the ungodly amount of direct connect fees.
It's creative.
That could actually work, and there's probably room there for 50 or 100 kilowatts.
okay, which the town could use all.
It's, the rooftops are still a better deal. Hands down. And once you see the numbers, it'll be really obvious.
Okay. Okay, well, that's what we need to show.
But ideally, if we're gonna pick some targets to use as examples, we should get electric bills for those targets.
I don't have them with me tonight.
The new truck garage, that whole, whatever meter that's on,
Yep,
what's that building below the library, the early learning center?
that's a school building.
And never mind that. So what else is there really?
Well, we should be looking at the school buildings as well, and Joe should be able to get me those numbers. I mean, we should not be giving up on them because they're some of the best possibilities in town, and they're also probably some of the larger consumers of power.
Okay, it could also be if there's a roof replacement involved at the library, that building is pretty good.
Oh, the existing one.
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, no,
yeah, because that's pretty high up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's good.
Put that in.
There's
No, I do have the
possibility
rec
for
center in
roof replacement there.
Okay.
It's possible.
That. Looking at the roof of that building is something that should be done in the context of this new grant that's coming.
Contracts have looked at it,
Whether the roof is. Whether the condition of the roof is satisfactory, I mean, both the roofing material and the mechanical support structure is suitable for solar. purposes.
Well, actually, if they're gonna insulate the roof, it's easier to do it from the top anyway, so.
Oh, right.
The building at the pavilion, on Redstone Lane,
that's true. Yeah, that's right. That's another project.
What's that?
August.
should take the place of all the outdoor white pop-up tents and things. We're gonna build a big pavilion out in the field.
I think there's gonna be electricity hooked up to that.
I think so.
I believe so.
Is that for this one?
August, that date.
After summer camp.
Yeah, I know.
Burn kids, burn.
That's probably a pretty small consumer of power, but they could get something out.
Yeah, 30 by 70 for the,
But it could also use the
The rec center. and
right? Be
yeah.
like a field placed on the pavilion.
Well, that's pretty small. The rec centers need.
I don't know how big the pavilion is.
30 by
30 by
70.
70.
So 210 square, or 2,100 square feet.
The
is-
bill for that
Does it run east, west, or north, south?
must be east west. It's gonna be right on the corner of the field. Do you know where they put their current tents up there, right in the corner of the field?
Yes,
It's gonna be right
Down
there.
at the south end of the field.
I'd call it the west end of the field.
yeah.
Two trees.
Oh, that's true. There aren't trees right, yeah.
I can't picture what directions or what there. It seems like that
Well,
would be south.
The roads run east, west, more or less.
Yeah.
Yeah. So. Tell them thank you for taking that into account.
Wasn't my decision.
So would that be in front of the meter or behind the meter? Building?
Well, they probably have to put a meter in, so if they're gonna have lights, so it would be behind the meter, but you probably wouldn't use much of it, so it'll all be excess. If
Yeah, it
the
would be
town
excess.
had it in a master meter scenario, it would be retail, or
We have a meter also there.
Yeah.
But it's very minimal.
For that like shed thing.
What is the
Yeah.
master meter scenario? I didn't
Runs
think
a
they
water
could
system.
do that.
well, so if you have 3 or 4 or 10 meters, you can have a master bill. Like
If
we
they-
could have a town
If they're
hall.
all co-located,
No,
they don't have to be.
no, you can
co-located?
master meter any of the meters in town on the town bill. And any energy that's applied to any of those meters gets net metered.
I didn't know we could do that.
Public safety building is the one that costs us the most for every month.
Well, so Jack,
How
what
big is-
that means is that we could put in a large solar facility at, say, the transfer station or something.
Yeah,
And we wouldn't have to export power because all of the other town facilities could effectively virtually use that.
So long as
Yes.
there's a master meter scenario.
And what does it take to put in that?
Just tell the resource, I want all these arrays to be part of my master meter.
It's like an aggregate.
Community.
Okay, that was what I thought we specifically could not do, but
No,
that's really.
That you can do, yeah. But there's really no place to do anything really big. I mean, there was,
At the transfer station.
that was the spot. And you can't because they're piling up all those materials back.
Oh, and wouldn't they would still need three-phase power, wouldn't they, to do. the
Well,
engine power?
you could do 70 to 100 kilowatts. On
Just on the
phase.
single.
Yeah.
Okay.
5 meters there on the side.
Yeah.
See, the other possibility, if the school district would go along with that, would be when the school has three-phase power. And, if they would do a joint system with a master meter for that,
Then you're really messing with accounting. I think you'd have a hard time with that.
okay, because it's.
You're commingling the school budget with the town budget.
Well, there's a committee that's come together to try to.
The other thing is, I would think that there's not enough roof space to do the whole load in the school, but I'm just guessing.
Probably not, but they could do a pretty good chunk.
Well, then you don't have to worry about a master meter, but
Right.
right, like if you put it on top of the school and it does say 80% of their need, then
Right.
great, you cut the bill by 80%.
Exactly. Deerfield was doing 300 kilowatt. Their elementary school,
Oh, yeah.
stunning.
We'll see what happens when they condescend to speaking to us.
How did Deerfield pay for that?
It's,
It's right.
PPA.
we're financing it.
Oh, okay.
Just my displeasure.
Thought this was an opportunity for you guys to make money. Seriously.
Once I pass 7 years old, it's like, do I want to borrow another $500,000?
Okay. That- I understand.
But I think in this case, we actually think that, because we could potentially get a REAP grant for 50%. We might be able to pay off the whole note, like right away.
Oh, cool.
If we make it, then it's worthwhile, we'll see. But that they never would have paid for that. They would never pass. Nothing ever passes at Deerfield. I'm surprised this passed, actually.
Okay, back to this letter for the select board, or this analysis for the select board. I will send this out to the group so you can have a look at it. I would appreciate any comments you may have. And I'd like permission to work with Jack and Rob to develop this further. And
Do you need a vote
I
on that?
need a vote on that.
Okay. I
We need a
would like
motion.
to, Jack and Robin, who else?
Just Jack and Rob and me.
Can work on this as is it a subcommittee? Is that the
No,
official?
no, it's just that
A
we're
working
working
group.
on a draft document.
Work on this draft document.
Second,
Second.
roll call.
I
Aye.
Thank you, everyone. I will try not to make it too painful.
Thank you for doing it. This is.
Yeah, this is technical enough. I'll read it, but like the idea that I'm gonna have input is like. ugh.
Oh, no, you
This
you
is-
will definitely
Pretty
have
pretty
it.
straightforward.
This is not technical. And the first thing was just something for Jack. I want to make sure that we don't give Eversource more credit on the rates that they have at the moment than they deserve. We definitely want to add that 1.5 cents a kilowatt hour because they overcharged in the past. That is not something that we should be taking as a condition. And I think that's a reasonable, we'll present it that way. and it's
so he's going to
reasonable.
use 9.5 cents.
Or whatever, 1.5, what's the current 0.2? It's 1.5.
Okay.
So I will send this out And please give me your feedback. Were there any other old items of business that, and just so you're aware, these are the new business items. Turned on because I already talked about it. Any other things that people wanted to cover other than the notable items, which we'll get to this week? Okay, moving on. Jack, this is your article.
Yeah, so who, was it Connor who started this discussion? I think it was Connor who asked about it.
I don't know. You just sent this out to the
Yeah, I
web.
think Connor asked me about that when we were talking about the piece of property. He was asking about cutting trees. Because, in almost every meeting I've been in the last 3 months, there's been somebody asking about trees. Which is good, it's fine.
So this was, is an interesting article if it ever comes up.
Yeah,
And I found several since then. It basically suggested that over a 30-year lifespan of a PV system, I think they used, this article uses an example of 50 trees for a 6 kilowatt system.
Yeah,
And the-
it was dramatic.
yeah, it's dramatic. The amount of carbon saved versus the trees is substantial.
So,
On the website, they note that.
well, and I agree, and it's a good point, and it's something we need to take into account. But what I would bring up is that is not the only consideration in wanting to preserve
No,
the ecosystem intact.
no, it's just an issue of addressing when that specific issue comes up, that it's a non-issue. You know,
Okay.
there are good places to put these things and there are bad places to put these things. And it's not about the loss of carbon capturing from trees. That's not an issue.
Right.
That's all.
That I agree with, but, and that should be, in our consideration. So I'm sorry, I can't bring the article up. It is an
That's
interesting
not around.
article.
And you, that's it. We access it.
Yes, I will send the up-to-date version of the agenda out to everyone. All the links are on there and they're links that you can reach. It seems like the town hall.
Just as an addendum to this, there are national organizations that are pushing out talking points like that, but like PFAS leaching out of solar panels. There's been a long list of things that are all nonsense, but they're coming up at all these town meetings. It's really interesting. And it's happening, just like, this is like Alec, there's somebody out there pushing these documents out to all.
Right, and the issue is that you do need to address those in public sessions, and we have so little participation here that it's very difficult to address them effectively.
Well, so the problem I have with this, and the PFAS is a great example of this. Some guy in Sandwich started making a big deal about PFAS without doing any research to find out there are actually no PFAS chemicals in solar. And yet, we have to spend time addressing this issue. It's like, if you're gonna bring this up, maybe you should bring it with some data. That's the.
Well, that's no fun.
I know that, it's just frustrating.
It's a very difficult thing to do anything about because this erroneous, they're conspiracy theories, and they get promulgated through social media, and people vote on the basis of what they learn through social media, and it's very difficult for us to counter that because we only have 2 people to meetings. I don't
There's
know.
good articles that counter all of these kinds of things.
There are, yes.
Do we?
That's what he's gonna read. Look at all the community power, all the signs all over town that said, pro-choice.
I think that was for a benefit.
Yeah, I think he pissed a lot of women off.
He did. I can confirm that as a former.
Okay, so that is the CO2 PV versus trees. Cindy, I don't think we're gonna be able to bring this up. We can.
I have it on my
Okay.
contact. I'm happy to pass it around. So on NHPR, they had a story about Peterborough, and Peterborough passed a warrant article, I think it was in 2022, that And they're trying to decarbonize their municipal buildings by 2030, I think it was, and all of the buildings by 2050. And the plan is 3 parts: weatherization, PV, and heat pumps. And they are going so far as to have training sessions. They're like training people to do this work.
For their own homes.
Yeah. So what I thought was interesting about this is, not entirely sure I'm up for volunteering for this, but I might be asking somebody else if they want to do it. But I think somebody should really delve into their website and see what they're doing, because this helps. They've done a lot of work already that I think we could piggyback off of and pick and choose some of the things they've done and potentially use them ourselves. And I did reach out to them, and they are willing to come and talk to us. But I think step 1 would be just for somebody to really read their whole website and see which portions of it might be applicable and helpful. But I mean, it is so comprehensive. So anyway, here's the website they have now. It states what their goals are. They have a news column like you do. Then they have all these tabs.
Is that one of these links that I might be able to bring up?
Well, I guess if you can you open another window that's prepnh.org? Yeah, so that's it. And like for the tab under coaches and allies is people like you, Matt, that basically are like, hey, I did this to my house and I'll answer your questions about the process. So you're listed as, say, a resource if you want to, and people can call you up and say, well, you know, how did you decide between this and that? Or what were the pros and cons of this? Or what was your experience even with like this contractor or whatever? And it just it's extremely comprehensive.
Do
And
you happen to know, so when you install a heat pump, part of what you have to do there is you need vacuum equipment and nitrogen as a fill. Are they hooking the people up with?
When you say heat pump, you're talking ground sourced?
No, I'm talking
Okay.
about regular, I mean, actually, it's the same, if there's refrigeration.
Right. Right.
But you need, it's common refrigeration equipment, but it's not something that your homeowner is going to have or want to buy because it's
it looks like they're partnering with Block Power to do heat pump installs.
Okay.
So the homeowner can learn about the process through them. And they're training people who are HVAC people, I think already, but like the town, this group is training HVAC people to be heat pump installers, insulation installers, and energy auditors and PV installers, because otherwise they won't have the workforce to get this done.
I see.
Which to me, that's really kind of like mind blowing that this town is like.
I'm pretty interested in chasing that down. That's a lot more doable than.
So
if that's reasonable, if you think it's time to jump, then jump.
Jump.
This is
Fascinating.
this is a like really good program.
Cindy, I had 5, 6 people when I was both running and in office. I had 5, 6 people because I was always pushing, this renewable thing, and a few would come back at me and say, "Well, it hasn't been done here in New Hampshire," or some stupid statement. I said, "Well, come on, I'll show you my house."
Yeah.
And a number of them did, and they walked away believing it, said it was at least doable because it was done.
This program sounded really good and thorough, and I when I reached out to them, they got right back to me and said, "Yes, we would love to come and talk to your group about what we're doing."
Was there also a tie-in with the technical school then?
I think so. Yeah. They're running technical training programs. I don't know if it's at a campus or in their town hall or what, but what they're doing is really cool.
Yeah,
And they've already done the legwork. And I think copying, I would much rather do that than reinvent the wheel personally.
And I have a great contact down there who's this urban planner, Ivy Vaughn.
Oh, cool.
And so she'd be a good resource for that too. So yeah.
if you want to investigate this and present it,
Yeah, I can do that.
right?
And then I told them I would follow up at some point. They were like, we can be there next week. I was like, whoa. Thank you, but, so I said I would follow up in a couple of months about whether we wanted to
Yeah.
like get a group Zoom meeting or whatever we
Well,
wanted.
so the question there is, do we want them to do an introductory presentation that can be done pretty cold? Or do you want to be educated on this beforehand and be able to ask more questions?
I think out of respect to them, I'd want to know more than I know now.
Okay.
So I want to at least read what they've already done and then ask more intelligent questions after that.
Okay, well, let us know when you're going to move forward.
Keep my hobby out of the country for the next month, but aside from that, I'm back.
This is very cool.
Yeah, this program is just it really is comprehensive, and the level of organization. It looks like a huge corporation when you look at their website and the team they put together and everything. Cool.
Great.
They're always ahead.
Peterborough.
Yeah, they put in they were the first to put in a really large standalone solar array, like 7, 8 years ago.
It's a very progressive community. It has been for, 40
Very cool.
years.
They had the best recycling center, I think, in the state,
Well,
like 30 years ago.
and it may not be appropriate for Barrington to take on even most of this, but it looks to me like there's components of it, like just the weatherization stuff. They're training people to put in the installation and stuff, and then getting it done in those homes. So it's
You're doing the blow test. It's pretty straightforward to do that with the equipment. But after you and I talked about that, I went online to see if there was a adaptation to my phone that I could use to sense infrared, and there is, and it's cheap.
Huh.
So
The resolution is not good.
how detailed does it need to be, right?
Pretty good. I mean, having been an auditor and
So you've seen those that go on
Oh,
your
yeah.
phones and
yeah, well, unfortunately, the one I borrowed is broken. So I know I haven't seen that in action, but I used infrared cameras that were about that level of capability, 15 years ago. And it was tough because of the resolution. We wanted better resolution.
interesting. When we did the infrared test on ours, I could put my finger on exactly where, and I'd scan a wall and end up with a big blue spot.
For the insulation stuff, it was okay. For the air leakage is where the resolution to be done. Yes, you're right about the insulation.
Is this organized by their energy committee?
it looks like there's a subgroup which is called PREP, Peterborough Renewable Energy. It stood for Peterborough Renewable Energy Plan, and then they kind of finalized the plan, and now it's the project, but this is its own group.
See if they have it out. For advertising. Oh, these are just other links.
I found. Is there, go the far right arrow?
About PREP. Meet the team and contact us is how I got in touch with them.
Where am I? I'm not seeing.
Oh yeah, where are you?
Expand your browser window.
There's a community power mode.
Yeah.
Okay, that's okay. We don't.
No, they did that.
Okay, very good. And we'll see.
Oh, they even sorry, one more thing. They even have a section on clotheslines, which
Don't get too broken up about that.
but it was like, it's solar power is affordable to everybody. That's solar power. It's entry level solar power, and I love like
Here for Clem.
I actually love clothesline.
Okay, moving along. So we are, Leah, when you went over the community center funds, we know that.
I just sent you a link. It's an AOL link
Should I bring it up?
instead of Foster's, because I had trouble getting back to the Foster's article.
I'll include it in
Um,
what I
it's
sent.
AOL one. GPS restricted.
There have been a couple of articles and actions by by FERC, the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, in the area of transmission grids and transmission upgrades that are very significant. The FERC approved. Oh, came up. FERC approved new regulations which are going to require the transmission owners to do 20-year timeline planning. In the past, they've only done planning as it was needed, which means they didn't do planning at all. Basically, arranged to, when something was over capacity, they would try to figure out how to upgrade. Now they're going to have plans put together, and this will inform how the transmission infrastructure has to be improved. There's going to be funds for reconductoring, which is a way of using the existing towers with newer technology, which allows, they can actually get about 2 times the power through the existing towers. So they don't have to deal with the right of ways, they don't have to deal with land acquisition. It's a big improvement, and this is sort of clearing the way for it. So that's one thing that happened. The other thing that happened, which is somewhat in conjunction with that, and I attended a seminar on this today, which really was not targeted. I don't know how I got invited to this thing. I have a feeling anyone can participate. But what this is planning for interconnects between the regions, which is something that we've fallen really short on. And what they've proposed are, these are called National Interest Electric Transmission Corridors. NITCs is what they call them. And there are 10 of them that have been proposed in the country. For most of them are for interconnects between regions. So for example, connecting New England ISO to whatever the New York is called. A few of them are actually for where significant improvements are needed interior to a region. They're accounting for that. But it was interesting to see what they've come up with. And you can see there's apparently more detailed maps available, or that will be available in a couple of weeks on their website. You can see that some of these, like this tie between the New York grid and the New England grid, they're really quite small. But unlike what FERC just passed, this is only one step in the process. It's a significant one, but before any of this gets done, there's a few more steps that need to take place. So this is not something that's going ahead now, but at least they're planning to do for a change up until now.
So
Notice nobody wanted to connect to Texas.
They must have a plan.
Well, I mean, there's Texas is you can't mandate that Texas do this because everything it's not interstate commerce, so the feds can't tell them what to do. It's all with their grid is all within Texas. It's called ERCOT. I don't remember what it stands for, but it's Texas. So what they've done is around the perimeter of the panhandle, they are going to expand the transmission for the other regions surrounding Texas. If Texas allows, they can go ahead and do an interchange. But it's Texas. So that was an interesting little piece. I hadn't realized that it's because of the interstate commerce clauses that the feds can't do anything about Texas from a utility perspective, from a transmission grid perspective, without their taking the initiative.
I would think Texas would want to do something about Texas.
You would.
I mean, remember they had that big outage?
Yeah.
Well, they had one part of Texas that was not on their grid and adapted quite quickly to the power outage, but the rest of the state went whack.
Yeah.
Bless their hearts.
Okay. And on that note, I did want to go over, meetings.
Oh, I have a
Go.
notable item. Sorry, I didn't put it up ahead of time. There's more big news on offshore wind, as you might guess. If you haven't heard, the Bureau of Ocean Energy Management just announced the sale notice, and this is the, where things really hit the table, for I think it's 6 areas in the Gulf of Maine that will be open for auction by the end of this year, sometime this fall. So it's coming up quick. It'll still be like 7 or 8 years before they actually build the things. But, obviously the first step is buying the real estate. And it's about 1 million acres. So it's the size of Long Island, I guess, or something like that. And it's 15 gigawatts. So it's like a dozen Seabrooks worth of power if they built it all out. So that would be enough to basically run all of current power needs for Maine, New Hampshire, and Massachusetts.
That's amazing.
This is a big deal. And then they're probably going to do more later on. It doesn't stop there. Interesting thing, when you look at the map, I mean, you could pull it up, or you can go to the website, bohm.gov, renewable energy, Gulf of Maine. Anyway, you look at the map of where these sites are, it almost looks like they're going out of their way to avoid New Hampshire. Because New Hampshire hasn't procured any.
Yeah, I was gonna say, hasn't New Hampshire like specifically opted out?
No, they didn't opt out. They just haven't opted in. I mean,
Okay, yeah.
it's that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's really the case. It just looks that way. The
Yeah,
deal is
exactly
that
right.
the fishing interests got this huge swath all along the coast from Maine to New Hampshire to Mass, off limits to offshore winds. So it means they're going to be 50 to 60, even 70 miles offshore, which means, they'll be way out of sight, which is good aesthetically, but it does mean they're going to need a longer power line, which I've probably mentioned before. Anyway, they're going ahead with that. And there's going to be a public information meeting in New Hampshire, actually in Portsmouth, a week from Wednesday, I guess, the 28th, at the Urban Forestry Center. So if you want to learn more about it, it's I think 5 to 8 p.m.
Who's sponsoring that? Why is it in New Hampshire?
They're doing it in each state.
Oh.
There's one in Maine, there's one in Mass.
I
You
see.
can go to Danvers, Mass if you want. But Portsmouth is a little closer. No, I mean, New Hampshire certainly has a stake in it. And, even if New Hampshire never procures any, they could still plug it in at Seabrook or at Schiller, because that's where the best power connections are. So, it doesn't mean we're out of the game. It just means we're not,
If they did it
pushing.
there, it wouldn't be being done by New Hampshire.
No, but it's the grid.
Yeah,
It's New England.
right.
It's-
It would be handled through New
Like
England.
that. Yeah, which it is anyway.
Yeah, okay.
Well, how
So,
profound that would be.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
yeah, it's a big deal. I mean, it's going to be a lot of power. So, so that's coming. And one other related, actually, with the Schiller plant, you probably heard they have announced they're going to close the coal plants. It's going to be several years. I mean, they didn't really say that, or, you have to read the small print. The Bow plant will be 2028. So they got another 4 years. They're not necessarily going to be running much at all, but they're giving them 4 years to transition. And Schiller is next year, I guess, 2025. The interesting thing there is they're proposing to build a battery bank or a battery farm, I guess. And I actually had a chance to talk to the CEO of the company that owns it. They did a press event in Concord last week, and he said they're going to provide as much capacity as the Schiller plant, 150 megawatts. I mean, it's only going to be a few hours worth, but for, peak shaving, it's going to make a big difference. So that's kind of exciting that they're going to do something a little more environmentally sound. And then the plan for Merrimack Station is to do a big solar farm. that's a little less certain at this point, but it's some
I
years
hope
off.
they will do that in conjunction with the storage system.
Yeah, I mean, probably, but the idea, of course, is that offshore wind could provide the excess power when there's a lot of wind and they don't need it all those 15 gigawatts, they can send it over to Schiller and store a bunch of it. So, it's pretty neat stuff.
Yeah. Thanks. So meetings, this is the 5th Thursday, or rather, we're scheduled to meet on the 5th Thursday, which is the 30th. We're also scheduled to meet on a week after that, June 6th. I'm not sure that we need to have 2 meetings separated by a week. Should we get back on our regular schedule and drop the 5th Thursday?
Yes.
Okay,
So
so
I'll be
that-
here for either one, so it doesn't much matter.
we don't expect it. Okay, so I will let Connor know that this is out, or Tiffany, and we will resume on June 6th. And that's it for tonight, unless anyone else has anything they want to add.
Library. Building
Yeah.
committee meeting that night.
Okay, thanks, everyone.
Does this need to go back to the room it came from?
I'm not putting it back.
All right.